The engine goes round and round when the pistons pop up and down again. Scott Schiller for Ron Fitzpatrick Jeep Parts on Team G503. This is the third part in a mini-series we're doing inside the Team G503 video series where Ron and I visited Jimmy Strauss Jeeps in Diamond Springs, California. In this video, we're going to be paying really close attention to pistons, connecting rods, and rings, a very vital part of the L134 engine. Norm, take it away. Norm and Gabe are going to be installing new piston skirts. The groove has already been checked, and at the moment, Gabe is checking the clearance of the new skirt on the brand new installed cylinder sleeves.
And right now we don't have that clearance, so we're going to power hone it to clearance.
Yeah, just put the solvent up here. Here, do some.
He wants the bottle on top of it. Adjusting the stones so that they expand in the cylinder a little bit.
I'll load it for you. Go ahead. Go ahead.
This has been done after the sleeves have been installed and it's been bored to standard bore. This allows us to get the tight clearance that we need for the piston to fit in with good compression, but still have the skirt moving when the engine is at running temperature so that it doesn't bind the engine up, that the piston actually moves freely in the cylinder. He's already honed it, power honed it. Now he's going to put cross hatches so the seats of the rings will. The technique on how you spiral it out creates a pattern. It's very automatic for Norm. He just does it naturally. Surface down shorter, he's just demonstrating there, and this machine hones them back round again after he cuts the cap down shorter so that he knows he has a true roundness for the bearing to fit in, because from the use of the engine, this changes the shape of it as it's being consumed from its time of use, and now he's bringing it back to proper specs of making it a true circle again so that the bearings run true on the crankshaft journals. So, okay, now he wants to move again. And then he determines the lightest rod and piston combination, and everything has to match that so that all four of the rods and pistons are equally balanced. And if they are not, then he has to adjust them by removing some metal out of the rods in order to get the engine to have a unison balance before he can even put it in with the crankshaft after it's balanced. You make sure that both ends of the rods have the proper balance so that you're not just doing a dead weight.
And how is that important to the engine?
It's important when it comes to replacing parts, they have to weigh the same.
Okay.
He wants everything to where the engine runs in unison, so it runs smoothly without any shaking or any vibration, and it just makes the engine perform much, much easier. It takes extra time, but it's the way Norm does it. It's the only way he does the engines. He won't do them any other way.
We had a big production down south. I'm from LA.
You're from LA?
Yeah. I came up here in 1986. because of the Watts riots and all the shit.
His building was destroyed in the Watts riots.
Mine wasn't. Everybody's was.
Yeah, and he
but mine-
moved up here and relocated and retired up here, and this became like a hobby shop for him.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I restored 20 cars that I brought with me from LA. And when I got through with them, I did work for general public. Then I met Jimmy, and he conned me into working on Jeeps.
Norm was a tank mechanic and troubleshooter in World War II.
Okay.
And he was in occupied Germany after the war, and he troubleshooted all the tank engines. And then after that, he had his own business where he was building high-performance engines, flathead engines, and things like
Yeah, that result right there. See, holding the piston?
Yes,
Right
sir.
here.
That comes from too many RPMs.
I see.
So he built a lot of custom cars for celebrities in the 50s and 60s.
Really?
Yeah.
And that's how he got his reputation.
What would you say? What would you say was your most memorable car build? If you had
You
to
worked
pick
for
it.
Michael Landon and Lucille
Oh,
Ball.
yeah, right.
Really?
I think the best car I built was my own, which was the Maserati with
He had a Ghibli.
L-
Maserati
L-
Ghibli.
L88 in it.
He put a Chevy big block in it,
Yeah.
and he enjoyed that car.
So
a
that would
lot.
have been your favorite.
That was my favorite, yeah.
Okay.
But he specializes in
Well, I built
high-performance
some.
flathead V8s.
Yeah, I built some weird cars. I mean, but that was my favorite.
Okay. What do you think about that L134 engine, that flathead engine? As in front of
Jeep engine.
its
I know what
durability.
he's talking about. Yeah, it's good for what it is. I mean, I'm used to performance engines, and it's not a performance engine.
Okay.
But no, it's a strong engine. It runs. It's built well. You know, it's
They're kind of overbuilt for the
yeah,
size of
right,
crankshaft journals. And
right.
everything. But Norm grew up in that era, so it's not as special as it is to us because it's all new to us.
Yeah,
That was his real life experience of being in that. That was an everyday usable vehicle that was just part of their daily living. Now they're collectible.
That's right. Well, fantastic.
Right. Yeah.
He's going to install the wrist pins, and then he'll probably put the rings in. Yeah.
Norm gets around the shop incredibly well. He knows where everything is and wastes no movement. It's hard for me to even keep
That's
up with
his
him.
stash of all his press pieces and whatever custom tool he makes to do the job. He checks the threads and all these bolts to make sure that they're all not stretched and make sure that everything on there is not compromised. And if it is, he has us replace it all the time with Ron's parts.
Okay.
You want me to move that big block Chevy on?
Oh, it's all right. Put a wedge in to spread it open so you can get the pin in.
And of course, when you put the piston on, you have to make sure that the bolt is on the right side against the thrust slot of the piston skirt, and that the oiler's on the
Okay,
correct
this
side.
is number one, so it's the opposite the counterweight.
They have an offset on the rod itself where the journal is.
You want to give me a tube of that white lube? It's on the thing over there.
This is assembly grease. It allows the engine to be able to spin freely until the oil pressure gets up to speed, so you don't have any friction damage.
Okay, this is number one. Heavy weights away, the dot is forward.
The dot determines the front of the engine, so the piston always has the arrows forward. We just had an engine come in here from another person that had problems with their engine operating, and Norm discovered when he pulled the head off that they had put the piston's rod in backwards, and the person had been driving that vehicle with problems, and this was a contributing factor to it. If the rods are put in backwards, the grist pin will show because the rods will be offset when the engine has the pistons installed. So you have to make sure the rods are put in the right direction so that you can have the wrist pin centered inside that actual piston. And that's how we can tell when somebody else has put them together wrong.
To a torque wrench, it doesn't work.
Right. I thought I was being slick.
That's why I got this wrench. And I know how much torque this pulls.
Out of sheer experience.
Yeah, done a few of them.
Okay.
45 foot-pounds.
I believe you. Fantastic.
Before installing your piston rings, be sure to consult the instructions included with them. Each manufacturer may have a specific designation for each ring, as well as the proper clearance and end gap for the rings. Also, double check that the piston rings are the correct size for your new pistons.
Here we got numbers. Start with 3. The Marcel and the oil rings. And you go to 2. You always want to make sure that they got this dot that faces up.
And when you put the rings on the piston, you want to stagger them so the slots are not in the same line. The other thing is, Norm, is I don't know if you want to take time to show them how you put a ring in a cylinder, or do you want to do that on the other engine? Put a feeler gauge between the opening of the gap of it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't want to, but if you insist. Father hen.
Father hen.
Yeah. Boing. It's dangerous for me with that belt on. I made it. Ah. Can't bend over. I got a huge belt on me.
He keeps a kidney belt on him.
Got a kidney belt.
Or what is it?
Hernia belt.
Hernia belt.
Huge hernia.
He's one of those, I think, trust fund kids that just
This is a temperature groove for the head temperature for the piston to expand.
I've seen that question asked before, if somebody was missing a ring for the top
Right,
down.
right.
Oh, that one slot, they question if
Yeah,
they're supposed to,
that's
yes.
the heat expansion ring, yes.
Also, that's just the side of the piston that has the thrust slot in it for the skirt when it moves up and down the cylinder, which actually has to go in the proper direction in the
Thrust
block
side.
on the thrust side of the rod so that it can expand without binding the skirt into the cylinder if it heats up.
Gabe finishes up installing all of the oil rings on the new piston skirts. If you look here, you'll notice a number stamped into these connecting rods. They are normally numbered 1, 2, 3, and 4, number 1 starting at the front of the engine and 4 finishing in the rear. The new bearings make sure they have the oil hole in the correct spot as well as the tabs in the correct locations on the connecting rods.
A lot of times they'll be numbered. You can't always go off that. You always want to look at the heavy side of the rod, and that's going to face away from the main bearing or main cap. So as you can see here, that's going to be 4. So this will be 1, 1, 2. As you can see, there's the heavy sides. They always meet. They always kiss, facing away from the mains.
Bottom drawer.
So this being 4, heavy side's gonna face away.
Okay, top drawer.
And then number 3.
Not the top drawer, the second one down, the bottom box. Should be a brass drift. No. Keep going up. No, up. There, second drawer. You got it. A brass drift, that big one. There you go. Thank you. Loaded bearing up in it.
So here's the heavy side. It's gonna face the other heavy side.
particular way you're putting those in?
Yeah, there's a tab. The tab has to lock into the rod.
Okay.
There's no tops and bottoms,
No,
so they don't differentiate. We're gonna leave them apart for
No, just slide it on. Don't push all the way on. Just tip to tip.
yes. So these always face each other.
Okay, that's far enough. Move. Far enough. Okay, load another one up.
This groove is the forward arrow for which way the pistons will face the front of the engine.
As Gabe and Norm stated earlier, the new bearings only connect to the connecting rods with a tab and an insert that's milled out on the actual connecting rod in one way. Be sure again that your oil passage is clear.
Real thin.
Yeah.
The new piston assemblies are all complete and ready to be installed. Stay tuned for the next episode of Team G503 where we'll be installing the crankshaft.
Thank you for watching. If you'd like to subscribe and follow along what we've been doing on the Team G503 1943 Willys MB, you can do so by clicking that subscribe button. It's always appreciated, as well as your comments. Until next time, my friends, keep it safe. Happy Jeeping.